Welcome to Ear Biscuits, the podcast where two lifelong friends talk about life for a long time. I'm Rhett.
And I'm Link. This week at the Round Table of Dim Lighting, Rhett is going to take us through the experience of
A lifetime.
heart.
Oh, don't give anything away.
Experience of a heart. It's a heartfelt
speaking from the heart.
recounting of a medical trial
I mean, it's probably in the title.
that has
So it's probably in the title.
that is
Let's be real.
unfolded over the course of many months.
Uh-huh.
And it has a happy ending.
But not the kind you're thinking about right now.
So Rhett is going to walk us through what it's like to go through a medical trial.
But I want to go ahead and say right now,
But not like a pharmaceutical trial.
before you start going and looking in the comments, don't go through the comments yet,
Yeah, don't do that.
because we are also making a very significant announcement today. A very significant announcement. But it needs to be contextualized by the story that I'm gonna tell. So just put on your patient pants. If you've got a pair of those, I know they're tough to come by these days, but put on your patient pants and cinch up your belt.
You've been wearing some patient pants.
I
'cause
have.
You've been the patient.
And just let this unfold at its own pace, because we both think that that's an important way to receive this news that you're going to get.
Don't speak for me. I also think that way.
He also thinks that. So,
You didn't even want me to say anything about, you didn't want me to say the H word?
well,
at
I'm
the
sure,
start?
again, something about heart surgery is gonna be in the title, I'm sure we gotta get them clicks.
Yep. And I see that you're sponsored by Cedars Sinai, the place to go when you're a internet celebrity that needs work done to his heart.
It's just my favorite color is purple. That's all this is. Okay, let me tell you the story
Go to
because it is in many,
CedarSinai.com/ear to get
that's not,
10%
no,
off
wait.
your first surgery.
Don't be Rick Glassman. You can't we can't suddenly be Rick Glassman. We can't do Rick Glassman jokes. You can't make up fake websites and fake codes.
That's
Let that be his thing.
That's a me thing too.
Okay. Going back to the spring, we are shooting Wonderhole. We are shooting what is probably the 4th or 5th episode of our slate, which I think ended up being the 4th or 5th episode of the
Which one?
the season, which was Last to Fall Asleep Wins $10,000. If you didn't see it, this is when we go on a cross-country-ish road trip in a truck. The day
An
that
18-wheeler.
an 18-wheeler. The day that we were slated to shoot that's the first scene with Ernie in the big rig. We were very excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed as we were getting into the truck and beginning to drive around that day that I felt like my heart was freaking out, like going very fast. And then I didn't have an Apple Watch at the time. I had the Oura Ring. Yeah, I'm double covered with biometrics. And you can look and see the real-time heart rate that's coming from the ring if you look at the app on your phone.
Okay.
And it said like heart rate 150. Now my resting heart rate is in the 70s during the day. It's in the high 50s at night. Like it's a relatively healthy heart rate. So this was more than double. This is what I would be at if I was at a pretty vigorous intensity workout, but I was sitting in a truck.
Yeah.
But I didn't talk to anybody about this because
You didn't say anything to me about it
No,
or
'cause
anybody else.
no, I was like,
Because we don't care. You knew that.
yeah, right. I knew I would get no sympathy. But I was like, okay, I'm just gonna, this is probably one of the reasons that this was happening to me, which we will get to.
Mhm.
But I'm so committed to our craft. I call it a craft, yes. And we were doing something that we were very excited about. And the way that our schedules work is such that if we have to stop doing something that has taken the time to schedule, that getting this big rig, getting Ernie's schedule to coordinate, it's all so complicated and also packed so tightly that we can't move things around very easily. And so I was like...
And you definitely don't want to, if something happens to us, then we have to shut things down because we have to be in it.
Yeah, and so I was like, I can deal with this. I don't know what exactly this is, but, I had worked out that morning. I had worked out very, very hard that morning. And so I was like, I'm having some sort of afterburn, but it just is a lot higher than normal. Like your heart rate will stay up for a while after workout, not to that degree. And then I started looking at like the data, like the graph of my heart rate throughout the day, and it would be like, oh, there it is. It's going really fast. But I know in those scenes, watching that episode back, I can't even look at my face and tell that my heart was going like 150, 155 during those scenes. Like I was in it. I'm there to be the great comedic partner that I am.
It's a little ironic that the conceit was that you were sleep deprived and you were really tired.
Yeah, I also thought that maybe I could embrace that a little bit.
But you weren't wired as if
But I looked
had a
tired.
lot of caffeine.
I looked tired.
Okay.
I did look tired, but
you were actually wired. So you were the opposite of what you were acting.
Yeah, but it doesn't feel wired. It feels weird. So it goes away, and then after that, I
don't even think you told me that on the way home or the next day.
I think I did because I talked to Jenna. We worked together to. We need to talk about Jenna just real quick. Sidebar.
Yeah, sidebar. Jenna had her ACL tied back together, or however they do it, and there was a bona fide dead person who contributed to it. We'll learn all about that next week, but we do have a voicemail that she sent to us right after the surgery.
I'm out of surgery. Yay! Everything went great. I'm doing awesome. Boop, 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 boop.
So I responded with, boop, 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 boop. Glad it went well. She was under the influence of drugs.
Yes,
but
she
perfectly
was.
legal, prescribed by a doctor.
She was boopity-boopity-booping it up.
She's doing great.
Doing some sort of research.
We'll get her update next week.
But yeah, she's doing good. She's at home recovering. She's got some weird contraption she's supposed to be moving her knee with.
I reached out to Jenna and said, I need to make an appointment with a cardiologist because I had this thing happen with my heart and it was this rhythm it was at this high heart rate. So we made an appointment. It's not easy. It's not easy getting into a cardio appointment.
Mm-hmm.
So there was going to be about a month wait, which isn't that long, I guess, for all intents and purposes. But, I am a hypochondriac. I have health anxiety. I would not call it debilitating because I do things like experience a health problem and then continue to do my job when no one notices. But in my mind, I'm thinking like, am I dying? Right? That's what I'm thinking. I just don't tell everybody about it. So I'm
sorry, by the way.
Oh.
That you went through that.
Well, I'm just the beginning,
alone.
My friend. So the next week, I am I'm working out way too hard. And it happens again. And it takes a while for it to go down. But then it goes down. But I'm like, well, I've got that cardio appointment, so I'm going to be fine. Now, this same week, just to kind of set the stage, that Saturday, so this was a Monday, and then that Saturday that was coming up, we were supposed to shoot the Architectural Digest home tour that Jessie and I did of our North Carolina cabin. People don't let me when I say cabin. Log home, okay. And she was already in North Carolina.
Getting stuff ready.
With multiple people working on the house all week to get it ready for this tour. She's doing all her Jessie stuff to the house, right? And this is obviously a huge moment for her. This is a dream come true for her. When she started being an interior designer, It was her dream to be in Architectural Digest, right?
Sure, yeah.
This is as big as it gets. And interestingly, she had an opportunity not to be an AD, but to be in another publication a couple of years ago, and we had a little bit of a family emergency that prevented her from being able to do that. And it just like it was at our house, and she was getting ready to show our house, and then that happened, and it's not something I'm going to talk about here, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. And so I felt like, I was very excited about that week for her. The plan was for me to hop on a plane on Friday morning and fly from LA to North Carolina and then be there on Saturday morning to shoot this AD open door tour on Saturday. This thing happens on Monday. Again, my heart rate is elevated for a couple of hours and then it goes down and I'm good. And I'm like, okay, maybe this just happens when I work out real hard. So I'm going to stop doing that until I can go to the cardiologist. Locke comes home from college on like Tuesday. So it's just me and Locke and Shepard at home because Jessie is in North Carolina. I wake up very early in the morning, like 4 a.m. on Thursday. And I wake up and I'm in my bed and I can tell that my heart is tripping out, that it is going super fast. I'm like, well, shit, it's happening right now. Now, once it starts happening, it's very difficult to do anything else, like go back to sleep. So I laid there in bed for another hour and a half, just like doing breathing exercises and like trying to get myself to, like, again, I don't know, like what I'm thinking at the time, because I haven't met with anybody, is that I'm having panic attacks or something. Like I'm having some kind of panic attack, like my heart's racing. I was experiencing a lot of stress at the time for a number of work-related reasons. And we were in the middle of this project and, just a lot of stuff going on, as there always is. But I wake up and I go downstairs and I do my stretches, which are calming. But the whole time I'm stretching, my heart's just like, right? So I told Locke about it. I go back upstairs and I'm like in the kitchen, like having my smoothie, and I'm like, my heart is just going so fast. And like I show him on the ring, I'm like, yeah, like 135 to 155. And he's like, Dad, you can't mess around with something like this. Like you can't just let this thing happen. You need to go to the emergency room. And I was like, Locke, I can't go to the emergency room. If I go to the emergency room, they might say, we need to keep you here today and overnight. And then I can't fly tomorrow to get to North Carolina for your mom's open door shoot. And I'm going to ruin the whole thing. I can't do that. He's like, what do you think Mom would want? And I was like, well, I really want her to have this time. And the thing is that I know that she would want me to take care of myself. Sure. Obviously. But
that's not what you want.
If she doesn't have to know about what I'm going through in the midst, because she's nervous. She's thinking about, what am I going to look like and what am I going to say? She's not a professional entertainer. She's not on camera all the time. And so like she's nervous about this. This is like her work being on display. And so, but I told him, I was like, okay, if it's still going in another hour, I'll go to urgent care. Like the halfway to ER step. Yeah. Well, an hour later, it's still going. Not getting below like 135. I'm like, okay, damn it, I'll go to the urgent care. I go to the local urgent care and I tell them well, first of all, I sat in the waiting room for an hour, which is fine, okay. They take me back. I knew that they had an EKG machine because I saw that on the website. The guy gives me an EKG. He comes in, he says, well, sir, you need to go to the emergency room.
Oh.
At a hospital. He's like, now, you are not like in immediate danger, but your heart rhythm is currently something called atrial flutter, where part of your heart, like the small part of your heart, is beating at a certain clip, and the big part of your heart is beating at a slower clip, and it's almost like a hi-hat and a snare.
Okay.
And that's not supposed to happen because the atria, I guess, is supposed to initiate the beat, and then the big part of the heart, which I should know these terms, but I don't, beats in like, That's what's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like responding to that. But this is going.
Okay.
He said the issue with this is that sometimes if you don't get out of this rhythm, what can happen is that the heart, the big part of the heart can start trying to get in sync with the little part of the heart. And if that happens, now your heart rate is over 200 and you can only sustain that for so long. And and then you'll have a heart attack. He said, and there's intravenous drugs that it can give you at the ER that I can't give you here that'll slow your heart rate down. And that's what you need.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, okay. He's like, he gives me the EKG. He gives me this like pink sheet of paper. He's like, go to the hospital. I went to Glendale Adventist Hospital. He's like, they'll see this sheet and they'll get you right in.
Okay.
So I go to the emergency room. The guy who's taking people in sees the sheet in my hand. He's like, sir, come with me. I like bypassed the whole line. Apparently I had like this is serious
Yeah.
color-coded sheet or something.
Yeah, that's not a great feeling.
And they sit me down and they give me
But you didn't have to wait in the ER.
I didn't. They give me, especially after watching The Pit, boy, you can
I'm not going to do that.
You can stay in that emergency room for a long time. But
I'm having a difficult time hearing your story. Like, I'm now so aware of my heartbeat that I'm having a difficult time
Good, you're in touch with it.
supporting you in this.
But I got right in. Although the ER wasn't that crowded, I will say. It's not like The Pit. Pit's crazy. LA hospital's not that bad as far as I can tell.
Not going to watch it.
So he gives me an EKG. He says, you're in atrial flutter. And then they have like multiple steps. Eventually, I get back to a bed, a hospital bed. They put me in there. The ER doctor comes in. He's like, you're in atrial flutter, and we're going to give you a intravenous drug to bring your heart rate down. And he says about half of the time, this will bring you back to a sinus rhythm, a normal rhythm. By the way, I have not called my wife by this point. I do not want my wife to be thinking about me right now while she's thinking about all this shit that she's doing for this AD tour. And I told Locke, don't tell her. And I drove myself to the emergency room because I'm a good driver.
Oh, God. Yeah, there's other neurosis that's coming to the surface.
What are you talking about?
You know that. So we can come back to it.
Other neurosis?
Let's put a pin in the other problems that you have psychologically that are leading to these type of decisions. But anyway.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You didn't talk to your wife, but
I did talk to your wife. I did talk to your wife.
I don't know how she found out because I didn't tell her because you didn't tell me.
I don't know
Maybe
how.
you texted. I think
I texted both of you.
Yeah.
And Christy offered to come and
she just springs in action. She knows what to do.
She offered to come and be with me. I told her, I was like, I'll be fine. I was like, I'm going to be out of here before you know it. And also, you can't tell Jessie.
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell Jessie when I get to North Carolina.
Yeah. If I don't die or whatever might happen to me.
So they give me the drugs and my heart rate goes down to in the 70s or 80s, like instantaneously almost, like within a minute. And then they do an EKG and they say, okay, good news, you responded to the drugs, your heart rate's down. Bad news, you're still in atrial flutter. And sometimes it can be difficult to get out of this rhythm. And that was when I said, Doc, I got to get on a plane tomorrow. I got to get on a plane to North Carolina. Something very important is happening in my wife's life on Saturday. And I have to be there. I cannot miss this because I don't know if this is going to come around again for her. And I will say, there were a couple of mythical beasts in the ER, nurses and whatnot. And I don't know if it was the universe conspiring or just fans conspiring. But word got around.
Okay.
That
celebrities dying.
That I had to get on a plane in the morning. Like this guy's got to get on a plane. And it turned into this guy's got to get on a plane tonight. You know, telephone, what's happening in the game of telephone. It's like, tonight, this mother got to get on a plane tonight.
Wow.
For his wife. And we're going to make it happen. So that was when the cardiologist, let me make sure I get his name right, Dr. Rostamian at Glendale Adventist, Shout out to him. He comes in and he says, I'm going to have to admit you. We're going to have to get you up into a hospital room. And we can do something called a cardioversion, which is when we put you under and we shock your heart using the paddles.
The paddles.
Back into sinus rhythm.
What?
And he said, unfortunately, I've got to get an anesthesiologist to do this, and I don't know if we've got one. So it's either going to be tonight or tomorrow morning. And that was when I leaned into him, and I was like, I got to get on a plane tonight, doc. I said, I told him the situation. He's like, he looks at me, and he's like, let me see what I can do. He leaves. At that point.
You gonna give me a shout out on your podcast?
At that point, I call my wife. Because what I'm thinking is that I can't get on a plane tomorrow. Like I got to stay overnight.
You're being admitted, yeah.
I got to stay overnight at the hospital. My flight is early in the morning. So I call her and I just am like, I'm so devastated. And I'm like, I have bad news. She thought what I was about to tell her was that I had gotten COVID, because I tend to do that. I tend to get COVID and not be able to do things. And I said, I'm in the ER. My heart's tripping out. They're gonna do this procedure on me, but they've got to admit me, and I don't think I'm gonna be able to get on the plane. Now, just so you understand, my wife, I don't care about this AD thing that we're doing. Like, why would you not tell me that this was happening? Obviously, your health is more important than this ultimately, superficial thing that we're doing and talking about our house. But I was like, I know this is important to you. And so why, and like, this is a teary conversation. Like, I'm very upset at this point. While I'm on the phone with her, the doctor comes back in. I'm like, hold on, the doctor's back. I'll call you back. He said, you know what? I found an anesthesiologist. We're going to do this right now.
Like in a 7-Eleven or something?
We're going to do this right here in the ER. Do you want it? And I said, give me whatever. Give me the papers. I'll sign my life away.
What?
I'm going to be on a plane to North Carolina tomorrow. They gave me propofol, whatever it is. It's the stuff that we got when we...
What, did you call her back?
Got our colonoscopies. No, I decided I would call her after this was about to happen. Well, I was going to call... The next time I talked to my wife, I was going to tell her that I am on a plane tomorrow to see you.
Not that I'm about to be put under and shocked.
I didn't want her to worry.
The clear thing, that's about to happen to me. So I just thought I'd call you back one more time. We just got off the phone. I was going to get back on the phone.
So they come in, they give me the good stuff. He said, you're going to be under for literally 5 to 10 minutes. By the way, the paddles are just for the movies. What they do now, and I saw this on the pit.
Clamps on nipples.
It's an adhesive thing they put onto your heart, and then they just like hit a button, and then you jump off of the table, and the nurse was like, yeah, you jumped. Your whole body left the table. Dang. I wake up, they do an EKG. I'm back. I'm sinus boy again. I'm back to regular old rhythm. And they're like, you're free to go. And I'm like, I could drive myself home? Because I drove myself here. And they were like, yeah. I had to wait a little bit, but because I was under for such a little bit of time. Like, it wasn't like a lot of anesthesia. It was like just enough to do it and then bring me out. So I get on the plane the next day.
You called her back.
I called her back, yeah.
And
called her back, and I was
what did she say when you told her that you'd gotten the paddle?
She said I was crazy. I was like, I'm crazy for you, baby.
No, listen, it's not, you're not interacting in a completely healthy way with this. You need to learn to accept more help and support, and you don't need to act like you can do it all. But okay, we'll just put a pin in that.
So then I get on the plane the next day. We do the shoot on Saturday. I thought it went great. But I did have a follow-up appointment with Dr. Rostamian 2-3 weeks later. What I noticed that day that I got my cardioversion, I went to the Apple store and got the Apple Watch Ultra because I had read that it was a great way to figure out what's going on with your heart. Any Apple Watch, really, any new Apple Watch. But I wanted the Ultra because I'm a scuba diver.
Okay.
And it tells you when you are experiencing arrhythmia, which is an irregular rhythm. And what I started noticing is that I was experiencing an irregular rhythm from time to time. And it wouldn't always be super elevated heart rate. Sometimes it would just be, I can tell my heart's doing something weird. And then there's an ECG that you can do, like a 1-point EKG essentially on your phone for 30 seconds. And it does a little EKG and it gives you an analysis of it. And it's very accurate, like it's recognized by the medical community. Nothing like the monitors that they would give you, but still really good, better than nothing. And I started realizing that anytime I was feeling my heart doing something weird and I would do one of these, it would say I was experiencing AFib, which is atrial fibrillation, which is essentially an irregular rhythm, like not the atrial flutter, like the hi-hat thing, but more just like it's just not beating normally.
So you're becoming more sensitive to it, and you're actually having data to support that.
Yeah.
This is happening.
This is happening.
More things are happening.
Yeah. And then I go back and look at my data that I've been, because what I noticed is that I was like, you know what? I feel like what I would have called heart palpitations have been happening to me for a few years. Like in a particularly stressful time, I'll just find myself being like, oh, I can really feel my heart beating.
Yeah.
Or I wake up at 3 a.m. and feel like I'm having a panic attack. And I always just was like, I think I'm really stressed out. That's what I would have said. And
that is what I've had over the years.
Right.
When I've gotten more stressed out.
But when I looked at the data.
And I don't have it now with my
antidepressants.
Anxiety medication. Yeah.
So the Oura Ring is constantly tracking your HRV, which is your heart rate variability, and your heart rate. And what I would look at is over the past few years, I've had this thing for like 5 years, is that I was scrolling through the data because it just collects that at night. And I would see gaps in the data. And I always saw the gaps as just like, oh, you're sleeping wrong, like you're on it, because it'll say there's multiple reasons for that to happen. But what I noticed is that in the middle of the night, like between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., sometimes there would just be this gap. And right before that gap, there would be this really high spike in my heart rate variability, like going to like over 100, 150, right? Not heart rate, but heart rate variability, which is the time in between things. So what I have concluded is that I've been experiencing bouts of this for a few years, and it had just gotten much more intense this year. This year has been more stressful than recent years. I'm also getting older, and also AFib induces AFib. Like the more irregular rhythm you have, the more irregular rhythm you have. That's just kind of how it works. So I go to my follow-up appointment, and he says, I think you need an ablation. And I had, of course, already done all the research on this. It wasn't like I knew I knew exactly what he was talking about, and I figured he might say this. I was hoping that he wouldn't. But an ablation procedure is essentially where they go into your heart through veins in your legs. So they go with the little insertion point in your vein, they go up to your heart, and they basically, using a number of different technologies. Sometimes it's super cold, like cryo. Sometimes it's super hot. There's a new technology called pulse field ablation, where it's just like electrical, like it's like a pulse, zapping, electrical. It's killing the parts of the cells that are misbehaving. And a lot of times these are happening in the veins that are around the heart. So the blood that's coming to the heart, these veins begin to misbehave electrically, and they are sending weird signals that are getting into the heart. And so what they'll do is, like, this is your vein, and then this is your heart. They'll send this little catheter into it and be like, zip, 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 zip. And they're basically breaking the electrical bond between the vein and the heart, so the heart can behave on its own and not be influenced by these crazy vein signals that are happening. He said I needed that. And he was like, he says, I don't do that. I'm not a electrophysiologist. You need to go to somebody who specializes in heart rhythm. And that was when I found Dr. Singalani at Cedars-Sinai. And
not a sponsor.
This guy is supposed to be the best.
He's the Singalani best in the world at it.
And they use the pulse field ablation procedure. And so I went to see him, and
you gave him the data on your Apple Watch.
Oh.
And they accepted it. That's the thing that I was surprised by, because we're like, well, we're gonna send you home with our monitor, and you're gonna wear that, and you're gonna push a button. It's constantly recording, but it doesn't save it unless you push the button when you have some sort of episode, and then it saves those episodes.
And it's more accurate.
But they didn't need that because they trusted the Apple Watch.
They respect the technology.
Okay.
I will say, so Jessie and I went to this appointment, and I had printed out my entire history of everything that had happened to me in order, and then I'd printed out like 12 EKG readings from my phone, my sinus rhythm, my high heart rate, but also my AFib, because I would have both of those things happen. The atrial flutter had not happened again since the cardioversion.
Did you fold it like a
brochure?
I
put it in a folder.
And did you put like a cool picture of you
No
and
pictures.
Your heart on the front?
I took the folder in there, and Jessie was like, she was laughing at me because I was like, I'm gonna be the best patient they've ever had.
Yeah.
And so I don't
need any help.
I get in
I'm gonna
there.
give the doctor. I'm gonna give the doctor what he needs.
Listen, here's the thing.
I will perform the ablation on myself.
I think you're getting confused. I'm not one of those people that thinks I know more than the doctor.
I wasn't saying that. I was saying that you didn't want to burden the doctor.
I wanted the doctor to have all of the information. And so when I sat down with the doctor and he began asking me questions, I said, Doc, I actually have the entire history written out. Would you, and all these EKGs, and they were like, okay. And it was him and another doctor at the time.
And it rhymes, Doc.
And they were like, okay, yes, we like this. And then I'm going through and I'm describing everything, and I've done a bunch of research and reading about this, so I'm using all the correct terminology, which I've already forgotten some of it. And then you're gonna love this. You're gonna hate this and love this. The doctor turns to Jessie at one point when I'm like talking to the other doctor, and she's like, does he have a medical degree?
Oh my God.
She's like, no, he's an internet comedian.
No, he's a weirdo.
He just has the internet. He has the internet.
His brain needs to be ablationed.
So here's the thing.
Man, you're not getting your money's worth. You're doing their job for them. It's like going to a damn
I want to know.
pot place and they giving you raw meat. Oh yeah, I'll take the raw meat and I'll do the cooking.
Yeah. I
don't want to put you guys out. I'd hate for you to have to cook the food in your restaurant.
I'm not volunteering to do the ablation. I'm just
Everything
giving them
but
the information.
You would have. If she wasn't there, you'd be like, yes, I have a degree in ablation.
So, interestingly, at that time,
why didn't we film this? You know, because you were actually, this was real.
It's not, everything isn't for entertainment. And I also knew that one day I would be telling this story on Near Biscuits, and here we are.
You didn't ask me to get one along with you?
Nope. You didn't.
My feelings are hurt.
You don't need to put yourself under that risk.
You know what? I would have done it. I would have done it.
When I went to
and I wouldn't have researched anything.
Appointment in May, I told them, because we had a trip planned to Croatia, Jessie and I did. And I had made the decision that I did not want to go on that trip. And I was like, I need a doctor's note so I don't have to go on that trip because I want to figure this out. Long story short, because I bought the insurance after I was having symptoms, I couldn't cancel the trip. And also the other thing that was happening is right after, leading up to that appointment with the doctor, so there's a setting on your phone, you can change it from, you can change it to this thing called AFib burden, which essentially every week it gives you a report. So it doesn't tell you every time that you're in it, but at the end of the week it tells you the percentage of time that you were experiencing AFib.
Mm-hmm.
And that number was around 5%, 6%, maybe highest 8%. And then in the 2 weeks before the appointment with the cardiologist, it went down to 2% or less, which is the lowest reading that you can have. And so what I thought was, I'm done with this. I'm through with this. I was speculating that, we don't know exactly what all of the factors that led to it. There's multiple factors that could have led to it. I was taking very high doses of fish oils for my eyes, which in some rare cases can induce it. but I've done that for a while. I don't know if that's what it was. I stopped that immediately. And so I thought, oh, maybe it's out of my system and and it's going to solve itself. So we proceeded with our summer as planned. But basically, the couple of weeks after the appointment, it started picking back up. And then while I was in Croatia, it was happening. And then while I was in North Carolina, it was happening. And I went ahead and made an appointment for August to say, when I get back, I'm going to go back to it, have a follow-up appointment and talk about what our options are for dealing with this.
You missed one part that I remember. When we were shooting the nude, the quote unquote nude scene for Wonderhole,
the friendship test.
The friendship test was like the last episode we shot. It was after the 18-wheeler episode, and I remember by this point you had a pill.
So I had 2 pills.
You had 2 pills.
The pill that I was taking every single day was a beta blocker, which keeps your heart rate from getting too elevated. And by the way, I've learned since then, and I couldn't talk about it at the time, that's the reason I peed the bed at that hotel. Because 2 reasons. Number one, when you're in AFib, your kidneys produce a lot of liquid and it makes you generate a lot of urine very quickly. So I would get to a place where I had to get up and pee 3 or 4 times a night sometimes. I was sleeping horribly for like a good period of time. And when we were at Jacob's wedding is when I pissed the bed.
Right.
I also read that beta blockers can make you have basically nocturnal incontinence.
Okay.
And so that was not saying I didn't legitimately piss the bed, and I'm proud of it, and it's made a great story, but I'm just saying that now I kind of understand why that happened. I don't know why it happened to you 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Maybe it just happened because you just pissed the bed. But I also had, I think it's called flecainide, and that is a pill that they basically call it a pill in a pocket. So if you go into an arrhythmia, you can take that pill, and it should bring you out of the arrhythmia like within an hour. So I had that, and I didn't want to take it. It has some side effects. I didn't want to take it. But while we were on set for that episode where we were getting naked and spooning one another.
And baby birding.
But the day that we shot the thing we were hooked up to the electrical stuff and
right.
being shocked, I was having it like the whole time. That whole scene, I'm in AFib the whole time. We sent Jenna to the house to get...
Because you didn't bring the medication.
I didn't have that medication, but by the time she got back, it had stopped. So I still have never taken that pill.
So, yeah, both of those episodes, it's like when you watch those back, like you were not in a good place, man. You really weren't. You were like, especially that second one, I could tell that you were like, you were worried. It was very worrisome.
Yeah.
And it was, it was happening and we're like, well, are we gonna stop this shoot?
Well, we actually did. So the last shoot of the entire season of Wonderhole was the LAX scene where I'm dropping you off at the airport in that episode 4. And
that was supposed
to be that night. We were going to just go. We were going to wrap the shoot at that building downtown and then go to LAX. And I was like, let's just do that at a different time. Like
we were able to move that.
I want to go home and go to bed.
But anyway, so that was back before. That was before you ended up going to Croatia because you couldn't. So now we're back to the story where, back forward in time. You went on this trip. You go back to North Carolina as part of your vacation, and at a time when you're relaxing more.
It's still happening.
It actually was picking back up, and the percentage went from just being very low.
Percentage was going up,
and going back up.
The other thing that was happening is like it would every time I would like lie down to go to sleep at night, and it would just happen very reliably. Like here it goes, and then it would go away. I had breathing exercises to get through it. I would have a big meal, eat a little bit too fast, which your boy likes to eat fast,
right.
And then it would happen.
So all of these, you were starting to gain sensitivities to it, but also kind of a resilience to cope with it. That you're not panicking as much when it happens anymore.
The thing that they explained to me is that, okay, so the reason that you have to get it dealt with is it's not that you're going to die from AFib. Like you don't die. Like your heart beating weird doesn't kill you. Now, if you go to this super high heart rhythm and it doesn't stop, that can give you a heart attack. But typically, if your heart's just beating in a weird way, what happens is that a clot will form because the blood isn't fully evacuating every time, so it begins to pool a little bit. Then you get a blood clot in your heart that then will get, when your heart does a full beat, it can push it to your brain, you can have a stroke. And so you are X number of times more likely to have a stroke while you're in this. And as you get older and you have these comorbidities that might lead to, preconditions for a stroke, high blood pressure, whatever, then this might be the thing that ends up killing you. But they were like, you don't have your stroke, whatever that score is for your like stroke propensity, mine was very low. So they were like, but the thing is that you want to get it dealt with while you're young. And I wasn't panicking about it anymore, but I had become resolute because again, I did all the research.
To get the ablation.
And I was like, I want to get the ablation because the new protocol is instead of giving you medication to be on for the rest of your life and have to like slowly up the dosage of it, just get the ablation. And in most cases that will solve it. Maybe sometimes it takes more than one, but whatever. So I was just like, and it's a heart surgery, heart procedure, but I was like, it's a low risk. It's about as low risk as you can get for something to be done in your heart. So I was determined. So
and
when
it was an outpatient procedure.
Yeah, so I had that appointment. I brought in more data, and
it was getting worse again.
I thought I was going to have to go on the Real Deal monitor, and they were like, "No, I think we've got enough. I think we've got enough evidence here to go ahead and schedule the ablation." They scheduled the ablation for September 19th, so like just like basically 4 or 5 weeks from the time that I had the consultation, and we just began to prepare for it. There wasn't a whole lot to do other than just make sure that my schedule on the week after wouldn't be too crazy. And I go to the hospital, Dr. Singalani and Dr. Ramareddy. So this is like a 2-person procedure.
I'll tell you, I will say that the week of your surgery was nuts. And it was just a crazy week for both of us. Like it was one of the most challenging weeks I've ever had. And the end of it wasn't a heart procedure.
I told my therapist that it was the most difficult week of my life, not including the fact that I was going to get heart surgery at the end of it.
Yeah.
And
I'm right there with you.
In terms of just the amount of stress. In fact, the stuff we were dealing with professionally at the time, the heart surgery felt like this like respite at the end of the week. I was like, on Friday, I get to go to the hospital and go under. I literally was thinking that.
Yeah, I understand, dude. But
that's a crazy thing to think, but I was thinking it.
I think it was just that there were some things that there were just milestones that happened right. The timing was right before it. And I think it was actually, even though it was very stressful, it was kind of like either push things or engage so that before the surgery, it's resolved.
Yeah.
And pretty much it was. So, yeah. And it's not, it's not anything to talk about here. It's just, it's just work stuff, business stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, it'd probably bore you to death if we told you about it, but for us, it was demanding. And my perspective on it was, if we can get through it and clear it out, like get the resolution, then it will free Rhett up to be able to go into surgery and like, I don't know, it would be like better. But it really came down to like the wire. Like Thursday night, here we are resolving stuff so that then Friday morning you get up and go and do this. And it's crazy.
The other 2 things, non-work related things that happened is I had 2 other family members go to the emergency room that same week.
Right.
So my mom was in the emergency room all week. She went to the emergency room with COVID, and then was struggling in the hospital that whole week, and she got out of the hospital on Thursday. So I'm like talking to my dad and talking to her the whole week, and like they have her on oxygen, and she's doing much better now. But we were worried about her health. And I call Locke on Wednesday. He calls me and he's like, I'm in the emergency room. For something like some ear infection. He's like me, he has health anxiety. So maybe sometimes a trip to the emergency room maybe isn't warranted for what he was experiencing, but he also overeducates himself on everything. And so he thought that he might be having a sudden hearing loss thing. He ended up being okay.
But you go in.
It was just a crazy week. It was just an absolutely crazy week. But I go into the procedure, and from my perspective, there was, Jessie came, you and Christy came, our friend Annie also came.
Yeah.
And I was able to see you and Christy. Like they were wheeling me down.
They only let one
gurney.
person back. We got there in time, but they'd only let one person back. But then the volunteer woman was like, come see him. And then they like opened the doors, and there you are, laid back in your...
With my groin shaved?
Well, I didn't know that. It wasn't exposed.
Yeah, I'm not going to shout out the name of the nurse who was a mythical beast and did shave my groin. I'm sure that was an interesting experience for her.
Oh, come on. Yeah, interesting.
I'm just saying,
okay.
I told her, she was like, I'm such a big fan. My husband and I watch all the time. And then I was like, well, I've already shaved I've shaved where I think you need to go in on both sides. And then she was like, well, let me check it out. And she said, I think we have to do a little bit more. And I was like, well, damn it. Because you don't have to like shave your pubes, but you might as well have, because they've got to go in like right on each side.
A fan nurse shaved your pubes?
Yeah, I have, you know what? Off the record.
No, on the record.
On the record, a fan shaved my pubes.
But off the scrot?
No. The scrot is not part of this. I don't believe she saw anything. I don't know. We haven't talked.
Well, if it's leg pube, that's not pubes.
Right here, right next to it, like all the way up to it. So
up there.
So
okay.
A good like inch or so of actual bush had to get cropped away.
Okay, yeah. You didn't narrow the bush ahead of time.
Yeah.
The head just, okay.
She basically made like a Hitler of my,
ooh, come on now.
of my pubes.
Everything you're saying
like a Hitler stash.
Is nothing to be said.
I'm sorry.
Skip this.
I'm trying to be descriptive.
Skip this part.
So, so I saw you guys, and I had talked with the anesthesiologist. He was like, we're going to put you under probably for an hour and a half to 2 hours.
I didn't feel great about that moment. I don't know, when somebody's being wheeled to something and it just feels like, I don't know.
Well,
last words.
Anytime you're going under
last words.
Anytime you're going under anesthesia,
like, what look is supposed to be on my face is reassuring. This is not our last conversation, buddy. I think
that was kind of how you seemed. You seemed jovial.
Hey, this is just another talk.
And I wasn't nervous. I don't get nervous when I'm in the hands of a professional. I'm not nervous when I get on a plane because I'm like, well, nothing I can do at this point.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like I was like, chances are very, very low that something's going to happen to me. Statistically speaking, I'm more likely to get hit by a bus on the way over to the procedure than to die during the procedure. But, you do think about it. You do think about your mortality and that kind of thing. But I go into the operating room, and this is so high tech, man. Like, there's like 6 people helping me get hooked up to different things, and there's a giant monitor there, I guess, so they can see the catheters as they're going in and doing their thing. And the doctors are in another room on computers, like through a window. I think that maybe they came out there at some. I don't know how it works.
They're remote. They're
remote
room.
At first, as I was getting set up. I think they probably came into the room. I don't know how it works. I just know that the doctor said, The anesthesiologist said, I'm going to give you a little of the medicine, meaning I'm going to give you a little bit of this good stuff. And
Sleepy time.
30 seconds passed and I wasn't feeling anything. And the last thing I remember the last thing I remember thinking was, I got to tell him that it's not working.
Of course.
I got to tell him something's not right. He's not hooked up right.
I need to print off a brochure that tells him that
Next thing I know, I wake up in the recovery room and they're like, you did great. Jessie comes in. You come in.
Yep.
And we got a picture together.
Yep. Got some really good pictures.
The look on my face in that picture, which I guess you're seeing right now, is not indicative of how I felt. I looked so miserable, but I actually felt pretty good. But I looked like I had been through hell.
And you didn't seem like you felt good or bad. You seemed like you were just very
Well, when you're under
lucid.
for that long, you know how like when we got the colonoscopy, like when we came back 5 to 10 minutes later, you feel totally normal.
Yeah.
I think when you're under that long, it just takes longer to come out of it completely. But
the first thing you said to me was, he was laying back with his head on the pillow, and you said, because Jessie had come back there and seen you, and then she got me, and then I went back there. And technically, only one person supposed to be back there, but we were both back there.
Yeah, they let it happen.
First thing you said when I walked up was, they told me not to lift my head off the pillow because something bad would happen. So then you're like sitting there with like your head on the pillow.
Oh, I don't remember that.
You don't?
I don't remember saying that.
You were very fixated on like, well, so they told me not to lift my head up, something bad's going to happen. I was like, well, just, don't lift your head up.
Oh, because people are visiting you and you can't look at it.
But I just feel like, you probably fixated on something. I mean, when they says, I don't know if they said, don't lift your head off the pillow, something bad's going to happen.
Well,
they probably gave more details.
I follow instructions as well as anyone.
Yeah, I'd have been, who knows what I'd have been doing. God, it'd be a totally different.
It would be.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to let's let you chill out a little bit. Everything's good. You did great. You achieved.
Yes.
Now you can rest.
So just
Nothing
to
worry
kind
about.
of give you the they went in on both sides to address the atrial fibrillation and also the flutter. They did it with two different technologies. I think they use a radio frequency on the flutter because that's more reliable or whatever. Anyway, they so they basically go in through these insertion points, which I have these, still have them, but these little scars, but it looks like a snake bite, like one fang. On one side it's 2, and on one side it's 1. But it was just, they basically just put a little piece of gauze over the wound. There's a suture that I think goes away that's on the vein because they have to go into the vein.
Mm-hmm.
That closes the vein up.
Okay.
But it is absolutely crazy that we live in a time where I can go to the hospital, have somebody tinker with my heart to fix a problem, and then I can go home that same day. I did not drive myself home. I wasn't allowed to do that. Jessie drove me, which raised my heart rate just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But the bottom line is they said that as soon as we got into your heart, you went into AFib. I think they have ways of inducing it, but they said we didn't. My understanding, again, I was a little groggy, was that it went into AFib, which is a good thing because then they can see where the heart is misbehaving and they know where to work.
Mm-hmm.
And they said as soon as we ablated what we needed to ablate, it stopped. And I can say that it has been exactly 2 weeks since that surgery at the time of recording this. And my watch has told me that I haven't felt anything, and I have not seen any evidence of AFib, which is a good sign. Now you can experience it for up to 3 months in what they call the blanking period, where you're healing and your heart is healing. But it's a good sign that I haven't experienced anything. A lot of times, some of those bad cells will reestablish these electrical connections over time, and you'll have to get another ablation. But for more than 50% of people, like I'd be good for 5 years, maybe forever. But one of the things that I really have to do is I have to think about the contributing factors, the things that led to me being in this situation. The stress in my life that contributed to the onset of this and that would contribute to it coming back. So I'll say, just to wrap up the story of the procedure and that whole journey, is that I'm good. I'm doing great.
He did to you what he did to Jessie. He didn't call you until it was all done.
Right,
and
exactly.
It was okay.
But I feel good. My life feels much more settled now that every time I lay down at night or have a big meal, I don't go into, and also anytime that things get stressful, like
right.
I don't feel my heart doing weird stuff. So, I have a lot of empathy for the people who experience this, because I guess you can kind of get used to it after a while, but when the thing that is inside of you that's making you go
right
is misbehaving, it is a really disconcerting feeling, and it is very good to feel like that has been straightened out, at least for now.
So on a physical level, you're good. On a psychological, emotional level, I know that there's a whole component to that. So let's get into that.
Yeah, so I think going back to this July break, which we've been trying to do this is the second year that we've basically taken a month off of all the stuff that we do. And it is a time of reevaluation and reflection. And there's something about the level of reflection and reevaluation was intensified because of what I was dealing with.
Sure.
And I think that I just always have assumed that I can take on the next thing. Like, again, I do have a bit of a problem in that way. I just think I can take on the next thing. I'm like, I'm capable of doing that. We can add that to the plate. We can add that to our number of responsibilities, and we'll just adapt like we always do. Like the level of things that we do, and again, I think it might be hard for people to perceive what our schedules are like, because when you see us having fun, because we are having fun. But the systems that contribute to all of the content that we make and all of the responsibilities that we have, it ends up being a lot of our time and a lot of our like emotional investment and a lot of stress. It just ends up being a lot of stress. I will be 48 when this comes out. And I think that one of the things that I was thinking about during that time was I was like, man, okay, I'll be 48. I'll be 50 before I know it. What do I want my 50s to look like? And that conversation used to be just simply, what do I want my 50s to look like in terms of my level of responsibility and the number of things that we're doing?
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like a choice that I could make. The thing that this heart situation has done to me is made it very clear that it isn't my choice. That sometimes your body makes the choice for you. Because I, a lot of times, don't have the sense to just be like, I'm going to think about my own well-being and I'm going to make choices that are consistent with my own well-being.
Right.
And your body is like, I have to speak to, and I know this is not necessarily literally how it happens, but sometimes your body is like, I have to intervene and I have to create a problem that will get his attention. And it's happened before. It happened with the eye thing when I lost vision in my eye
right.
during GMM 22, stress-related symptom that resolved itself. But this was like the next level of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I came back from that trip, we began to have a number of conversations. And so I think this is where you can kind of pick up like where you were.
I mean, certainly being close to what you were going through gave a sharper image of
great store
things of my perspective as well. We tend to focus on what we're going after, and the ends justify the means, and it's hard to make the connections between your well-being and the decisions you're making for 3, 6, 9 months down the road.
Yeah.
But we get in this habit of it's our MO that's how we've worked our entire lives. And when these things come out of nowhere, like, physical trials or that type of thing, it did put things in perspective for me. So I was having this parallel reflection at the same time that when we got back together, we had some good conversations after our breaks that were like, okay, we had clarity about a number of things.
And I think that
and the chief one is our workload.
Yeah. Thinking about how willing we have been to spread ourselves very thin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a whole host of reasons why that's been our tendency, and that's been the way that we've continued to move things forward. And I think we started having really, really pointed conversations about what does it look like to not spread ourselves too thin? What does it look like to pull back a little bit, to focus, to simplify?
Because the things that we want to go after require energy and self-care to get there. And the cost to get there, we've become much more informed with how our age and our bodies impact, like what we have to invest and what we have to protect in order to go after those things.
Yeah.
So then we start to have a conversation about, it's more of to use the medical term, like a triage, like what can go and what needs to stay. What do we want to stay? And what do we want to add that we're going after? Because we're always trying to go after something new.
And we'd already made the decision to what we were adding to the plate that we can't talk about right now, that we were already working on and will be working on.
Right. We've told you we're not doing a Wonderhole Season 3. Instead, we had already decided in the midst of that what the next project we wanted to do, and, call it a passion project. So it's another thing that we're doing is we're listening to our passions and we're not talking ourselves out of those things.
Yeah.
So all of those pieces come together and we can start to put labels on it, lead us to making the decision to take a break from Ear Biscuits. So the decision that we've made is at the end of the year is when we'll have the last episode of this year will be the last episode of Ear Biscuits indefinitely. We're taking an indefinite break. Now, it's not the first time we've done this. We've taken a break from Ear Biscuits before, and when we brought it back, it was different. It was a version of what we've done to this day, give or take, moving away from the interview thing. And
so it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gone forever. I will say, we know that we've heard from many of you that this is your favorite thing that we do. So we know that there's going to be a good number of you that are very disappointed.
Right.
We totally understand that. I think that we want to. There are a couple of things that we are going to be doing that I think will help contextualize and answer how we are taking that concern into account.
But I will say, before we get into that, just the decision was, when we look at the lens of what it is we're going after and what we want to invest in, and what gets our creative juices flowing, and I'm just being honest and saying, I think it wasn't, through that lens, it was an easier decision to start to say, to identify that Ear Biscuits was the candidate to take a break from. But when we look at it through the lens of you listening, knowing that it could be, like Rhett said, the one thing that you love the most that we do. It could be the only thing of that we create that you partake in.
And that, I know that's the case for
And
some
we
people.
do know that that is the case for a lot of people. So when we look at it through that lens, it was a difficult decision because we've made this a place where we process our lives, a big portion of our lives and our friendship in front of you. We're sharing that conversation with you. And we have really appreciated that you've appreciated that and that is connected with you. So we didn't take the decision lightly, and we are concerned about how you're processing it. So that's why we decided to give a runway of a few months of the show where we'll know that it's going away and we can kind of have more of
A slow goodbye.
a gentle landing, if not emotional goodbye. So that's what we try to do. So we just want to acknowledge that that you're attached to this show and that it is special, and it's unique in terms of the forum that it has created for our friendship and our relationship with you listening. So we've put some thought into how we might address some of that.
I think so.
But none of it is going to make you happy if this is your thing.
Yeah, and that's not really
But
it's, and that's
hopefully it will mitigate it a little bit.
And it's not really the reason. We're not doing this. We're actually very excited about what I'll say. I can think of three things that we can go through that I think are like what this has been, the elements that make this podcast will live in different places. And I want to kind of talk about that a little bit. One overarching thing is, that I think is worth saying, is in all of this reflection, this self-reflection, and this looking at our lives and our time and what it is, what we want to do, and where we want our passions to be focused. Something has happened, or something has become very clear, and that is how special what we have in Good Mythical Morning is. I know sometimes we talk about GMM like it's the side project that became the main thing, and we almost might seem that we have some resentment towards the success of the show because we got in this to be storytellers and filmmakers, and it turns out that the majority of people just want to see us do stupid things behind a desk and just be ourselves. Mm-hmm. And as people who've always thought of themselves as people who make things, it hurt our egos a little bit when it was like, I don't want to see what you make. I just want to see you be yourself, and that's something that we've had to come to grips with. Now, we still have lots of aspirations to make things. The other thing that we're working on that we'll talk to you about soon is something that we're making, that we're in, but we're making it. But I think that so many other things have been happening in the world. You've had what's been happening with late night, and you've got the fact that, this administration is essentially sticking their noses into media in a way that is getting late night shows canceled or temporarily canceled. And we are just seeing that this independence that we have and autonomy that we have and this incredible audience that we have built that comes back to Good Mythical Morning on a daily basis and Good Mythical More is such a special thing. And I think that one of the things that we are thinking about is how many things that we can do on Good Mythical Morning. If you think about the past 13 years of Good Mythical Morning, you think about all the things that we've done that aren't just us behind a desk. Sometimes we go back to Bowie's Creek, or we go to Memphis, we go on a road trip, we go out into the world, we do more things. I think one of the ways that we're thinking about GMM is just asking the question, what can that bucket of GMM hold? So our passions and our enthusiasm for the long-term future of Good Mythical Morning have never been higher. I just want to say that. But there's an element to the Good Mythical Morning world that is Good Mythical More, which of course is the show after the show that a percentage of people watch. And in that place, it has become a place of conversation and kind of laid back interaction. And you may have noticed that we are doing a little bit more of like telling a personal story here and there in that format. But I think that the very intentional thought that we're having right now about that is if something happens to us, we go on a trip, some crazy story happens. A lot of these stories that we tell on Ear Biscuits, the outlet for those is going to become Good Mythical More. And again, it's a lighthearted show.
Don't worry, if I do something real stupid, I'll still tell you about it over there.
So you're going to find out about it there, because if you think about it, we sit here and talk for an hour or more sometimes. In a given week, a Good Mythical More, we talk more than an hour over the course of a week. And I think that, so if something happens and we're like, the Mythical Beast got to know about this, that's where it's going to live. The second thing is we're really thinking, and again, I know that this is not necessarily for everybody, but like we're thinking about what the society can be. And I think that we are really trying to move to a place on the society where the things that we're experiencing in life, we're kind of bringing you along for the ride, filming more stuff with our phones. We just took a trip recently where we shot a bunch of stuff ourselves and felt very much like the vlog days.
Yeah.
Those things are gonna, more and more of that stuff is gonna be showing up there on the society. And I know that, again, that's a paid thing, that not all of it's paid, but not everybody has access to that. But for those of you who are society members, there's Car Biscuits, but there's also more of that kind of personal vibe that is going to continue to live there even increasingly.
Right.
You got anything else to say about that before I get to the third thing?
I mean, it actually, it might start to sound like, well, gee, you talk about doing less and now you're talking about doing more, but we're talking about pivoting things in such a way that the net result is not the time that we are spending, that we would spend with Ear Biscuits. We're just going to do that somewhere else. I think that the net result is that it's our approach is simplified.
Yeah.
And it's less intense work for us.
It tends to be, if we are already doing something, that it would be like, oh, if a mythical beast was a fly on the wall right now, I think they would be interested in it. And all it takes is me to pull out my phone and record this. That doesn't feel like work.
Right.
And it doesn't require a team and,
So the other part of it is, well, if you want to hear me talk on a podcast, I have a podcast with my dad, Dispatches from Myrtle Beach. I invite you to check it out if you haven't. I'm sure some of the vibe of how I update Dad on things will scratch an itch that is left when Ear Biscuits is when we're on a break, right? So listen to Dispatches. I think another thing is that, okay, Ear Biscuits became a venue for if there was something that we wanted to talk about, or if you wanted to get serious about something. Like what's the venue for getting serious or introspective? And when the comedy just goes out the window and now we're having more of a heart level conversation. There's a couple of things. First of all, there's no reason why Good Mythical More can't go in that direction if there's something that we need to say or talk about. Mm-hmm. But you're also making a YouTube channel.
Yeah. So today, the day that this goes live is also the day that my YouTube channel goes live. And the first video is literally just me sitting there talking about my experience of like how someone who doesn't know what they think about the afterlife anymore, a deconstructed Christian, how do they think about the afterlife and specifically hell? Am I afraid of hell? And how do I think about hell? Again, that's the kind of thing that I would talk about here, but when I have something like that, I'm just going to turn the camera on and just talk candidly. And so that channel is just called Rhett McLaughlin, just my name. We'll link it in the description.
Go over and subscribe to that. But you're not making a commitment to a release schedule.
And I say that in that first video that it is, again, I'm not trying to do more. It's just I think about things and I like to talk about things, and it's very easy for me to turn a camera on and talk about them. But it could be that that's the only thing that's the only video that I make the rest of the year. I don't know. If I have time and if I have something to say, then I'll say it. And it isn't all going to be just like only. If I have something funny I want to talk about, I might say it over there if it's just something that is a perspective. There's no rules and there's no guidelines and there's no expectations.
If you want to do it, you'll do it, but you're not making any commitments.
But the thing I can say is if you're specifically...
But now you have a bucket for that.
If you're specifically interested in the spiritual stuff and the deconstruction stuff, which again I know is like a percentage of a percentage, there's going to be a place for that, and that is going to be that channel. So appreciate if that you're into that, subscribing there.
Is there any other part of it? Jamie, we're glad that Jamie is staying here at Mythical. Role is changing a little bit.
Yeah,
so,
but I'm excited about it.
This is, again, we're not giving goodbyes today, but
no.
You know, you've got a path forward here at Mythical.
Yeah, it's definitely been, it was like an interesting announcement to myself. It's like, you know, you guys never like, hey, just like, let's pull up a chair right now and have no context. But no, I've loved working on the show. It's been great hearing all the voicemails and, you know, picking those out and everything. And yeah, I'm really excited to step into this new role and continue on and working kind of across all the departments.
Yeah, and speaking of voicemails, I think that that's something that we're talking about on a periodic basis, maybe incorporating into Good Mythical more.
Yeah, maybe that's something we'll do.
We could do that, but you know,
in the meantime, I thought what you were going to say is like we've got a number of episodes now.
Yeah.
You know that like if you want to leave a voicemail, make sure that it's not too long, and you know if you want to. Let us know how you're processing this. Don't put us on too much of a guilt trip, but we'd like to hear from you. So leave us a not too long voicemail in how you're processing the fact that your Biscuits is going on a definite break.
Yeah.
I think it can be something that we can process a little bit of that together through the rest of the year.
And I would say this last thing, we appreciate your understanding. Again, I know that this might feel like a rug pull for some of you, and just know that it was not a decision that was made lightly. We are trying to listen to our bodies. We're trying to listen to our hearts, literally
right,
and figuratively. And I think that, you know, change can be a good thing. And we are very excited about where we're going to be putting our time, but we're doing it in a way that takes our well-being into account in a way that I don't think we've done yet so far, but is a way that we are sort of being forced to take into account. And this was a difficult decision that took a lot of thought and a lot of intention. And we just, you know.
But we know that it's going to be very helpful and that it was the right choice to make at this point.
And you know, and if you are one of those people who are like, this is it, this is the only thing, I don't watch GMM, I don't watch GM more, this is the thing that I like from you guys. And if you're not doing it, then I guess I'm not going to get anything from you. Well, first of all, that's, you know, it's your choice. You can do whatever you want to. I would ask you to consider like checking out especially in the new year, checking out Good Mythical more to see what we're saying, or maybe you can look at the titles and the thumbnails and be like, oh, it looks like they're talking about something personal, and that might be something I'm into. Give it a chance and see if it's something that would scratch that itch a little bit. And if not, that's fine, you know? You do whatever you need to do.
If not, that's fine. I mean, if you want to move on, we understand. Like I said, leave us a voicemail, 1-888-EARPOD1. And hey, we'll talk at you next week.
We will.
Hi, Rhett and Link. Been watching you for years. You are comfort to me. Just wanted to give you a little idea, maybe for future reference. Rhett, you have a look that would be the Cowardly Lion all day long. And I guarantee you, Link and his beautiful gray hair would be a perfect Tin Man. I don't know, just a thought. Love you guys, watching you right now. And yes, it will. Will it? Love you. Bye. And by the way, this is Tammy from California.
Good Mythical Evening is blasting off October 23rd at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Get your tickets now at goodmythicalevening.com.